It was like he was a big black shadow. Hello, welcome back to Iwaihime. And like before, we're just gonna keep going. I think some bullshit's gonna happen. Late that night, my phone started glowing. I didn't know the number, but I had my suspicions.
Hi. 鈴原です。夜分遅くにごめんね。いえ、なんか予感してましたから。
For a minute, I wondered how Suzuhara got my number, but I didn't feel the least bit unsettled. After all, I wanted to know what his number was too.
何でしょうか。
What a weirdo, but it sounded like he had me figured out entirely. After all, I was the one who had business with him. But I couldn't think of what it was. No, that wasn't it. Maybe I just felt I didn't need any silly reason to talk to him.
カーテン開けてみて。カーテンって、私の部屋のですか?
I stood up and opened the nearby curtain. I saw the residential district blanketed by night, same as always. But there was a familiar face under the streetlight in front of the house.
散歩でもどうかなって思って。男の人に真夜中のお散歩を誘われたなんて初めてで戸惑ってます。
Something's gonna go wrong. I can already tell.
したいかなって思って。そうですね。私もそんな気分でした。
First off, he somehow called her, even though he didn't know her number, and all of a sudden he is outside her place. Definitely does not add up. When I look back on this event, I realize I should have questioned it more. Okay, yeah. I never told anyone my home phone number, so to say nothing of my cell number, is what it wouldn't have taken much thought to realize he shouldn't have known it. But at the time, he was all I could think about. Suzuhara understood me completely, so I didn't find anything strange about him knowing my number. You know what they say about something being blind? And so I devoted myself to that thing that looked like Suzuhara, without finding anything odd about it. But don't get me wrong, Suzuhara. It's not like I trusted your doppelganger specifically, so she knows. I trusted it because I thought it was you. No, it was probably only me, talked about a lot. I thought I could tell him anything. We shared several nights like that. He knew the more I vented, the better I felt. But all I vented about were my own weaknesses. The more I admitted them, the more I became addicted to them, like a drug. Eventually, I came to depend on the thing that resembled Suzuhara with every fiber of my being. Before him, I was no more than a little girl bearing her weaknesses and unleashing her troubles. I told him everything I believed, whatever he said without question. But I didn't mind if he thought I was weak.
きっとリリアちゃんはまだ迷ってると思うんだ。迷い？クルス・リリアとして新しい出発をするか、それともマジカルリリーで居続けることを選ぶか。それができたら私は最初から苦しまなかったです。そうだよね。
By no means did I hate Magical Lily. She brought me to the height of my popularity, the manifestation of the first and last stroke of luck in my life. Didn't want to let go of her if I didn't have to. What I really wanted was to stay as Magical Lily forever.
体はどんどんこんな醜い姿にブクブク脂肪がついて、胸もお尻もこんなに醜くなって、私だってこんな体にならなきゃ ずっとリリーでいたかった。
正直に言えたね。偉いよ、リリア。
That was the first time he said my name so tenderly. It felt so good, like we'd come closer than ever before. I felt tears running down my cheeks.
マジカルリリーには戻れない。応援してくれたみんなが劣化だのババア化だのノッポだの。だから私はクルス・リリアに生まれ変わらなければならないのよ。
戻れる方法があるとしたら、リリアは試してみたい。
Didn't sound like he was just spouting nonsense then. Knew that if it were possible, I wanted to do it more than anything. That's right, he must have been waiting for me to say that.
それは
君は信じてくれるかな。いや、いくらなんでも無理だよね。
Yeah, it's a bit preposterous.
何ですか。もったいぶらないで見せてください。
He took something out of his pocket and showed it to me. It was a small black bottle. No, I only thought it was a black bottle. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was the contents that were. They swayed back and forth, and Suzuhara shook the bottle. Fine grains like sand in an hourglass.
何ですかそれ。
インドのずっと北の少数部族に伝わるとても珍しい薬草の粉末なんだ。
Yeah, and how would you even know that?
その部族では知恵者である長老を延命させるためにある飛薬を使っていたんだって。
Huh.
それが
延命の飛躍。
その噂が古代中国に伝わり、不老不死の薬と語られたこともあるんだそうだよ。さすがに不死の効果はないよ。人は必ずいつか死ぬ定めなんだから。でも不老の効果は本物なんだ。
不老って老いないってことですか。
全身の細胞を活性化させ、長老の老化を食い止めることができたんだって。
So visually they won't be aging, but they technically would still be aging until they die, like naturally die. But they would visually still look young, is what I think was what this is saying.
でも、もともと全身の細胞がすでに老化している人にはその程度の効果しかないけれど、若者が摂取すると若返りの効果があるんだ。
Oh, wait, what? No way. That was the first thing that came to my mind, but I didn't say it. Because if I did, my love soul would be gone forever.
嘘なんかじゃないよ。ちゃんと聞く。証拠もあるんだ。
誰か試したんですか。
うん。僕がその証拠だよ。
Huh?
僕はいくつくらいに見える？
I understood what he was implying, but that would mean
普通の高校生に見えます。違うんですか。
僕の本当の年齢はもっともっと上なんだ。
who the fuck is this doppelganger? 100% it's either he's telling the truth and there's some big twist with Suzuhara, or he's just flat out lying. Just trying to get her to take the I don't know, whatever the content is, whether it be swallowing it, using it in some way, I don't know. But he, for sure they want, trying to get Ruria to use it. That can't be. Suzuhara had a baby face. It could definitely pass for a middle schooler. Actually, had we not met at school, I'm almost certain I would have mistaken him for one. Suzuhara whispered his true age to me, but that would make him older than my father. I just couldn't believe it.
僕はものすごい未熟児として生まれてね。半年は生きられないと言われてたんだ。幸いにも1歳の誕生日を迎えられたけれど、病院で管につながれたままの寝たきりだったよ。もちろん保育園も無理だし、学校なんてとんでもない。ずっと来年までは生きられないと言われ続けて、それを繰り返してずっと生きてきたんだよ。
Not only you just write this off as nonsense, but though it sounded unbelievable, I found myself accepting his story. I told him everything about myself, so I wanted to accept everything he told me about himself, no matter how strange it sounded.
幸いにも僕は成人してから少しずつ健康になっていってね。20代の頃には少し病弱な程度の普通の体になっていたよ。でも僕は保育園にも小学校にも通ったことがない。誰もが当たり前に通ったはずの学校。そこに通えなかったことは僕にとってあまりに悲しいことだった。僕は当たり前の子供時代をぽっかりと失って大人になってしまったんだ。そんな時偶然この飛躍に出会ったんだよ。
じゃあ先輩はそれを飲んで若返って。
うん。おかげで小学校、中学校、そして高校の生活をこうして送ることができたんだよ。
信じられない。
僕は一度きりの生を普通に送りたかっただけなんだ。生まれつきの体質でそれが叶わなかったけど、この薬のおかげでそれを取り戻せた。だからこの薬は僕にはもう不要なんだ。
じゃあそれは。
うん。
Don't,
君さえよければ
don't,
あげるよ。
don't take it. He gave me the bottle. Can you believe it? I was holding a medicine too fantastic, even for most fairy tales. But if this was a dream, I didn't want to wake up. Because with this, I could have my adorable body back, the one that made me the Lily everyone knew and loved. But that, of course, was all a total lie. Of fucking course. Just how crazy was I to believe in it? Medicine that turned back the biological clock, that sort of thing would have made international news ages ago if it were real. Huh, you think it's sadder that I thought you had a baby face? Wait, is she talking? I'm sorry. Is she talking to the real Suzuhara? But I never could have dreamed he was lying. Because I trusted you. She is talking to the real Suzuhara. What was that sound? Ugh. That's why I took that shady medicine without question. I decided to use it right away, just like he told me to. I would cleanse myself in the bathroom, then put a little bit of the powder in my palm. The smooth black grains quickly melted into ink in my warm hand. When I poked it with my finger, I saw it was pure liquid. No matter how much I shuddered, it remained the same inky black. Kind of like this, I'm assuming. I'm assuming that's what this has been. This, whatever this background is. And so I covered my hands with it. My palms became pitch black, not like the darkness of ink. stuffed myself, I covered my belly with it. Okay, so it's not like a medicine you ingest. The darkness never faded, no matter how much I spread it around. Just as Zara had said, even just a little bit of it was enough to cover my whole body. Eventually, I looked into the mirror to discover I looked like a jet black mannequin. Only my eyes still held any shine, making me look like a monster peeking out of the darkness. But I couldn't let it bother me. I was already enough of a monster as it was, so nothing that happened with my body could phase me anymore. But I was only jet black at first, just as he told me the color started to fade, like it was being sucked into my body. The black faded away with each passing moment, and after a few minutes it was gone, like it had never been there to begin with. When my fingers crossed, I can only feel something twitching underneath it. I didn't find it strange at all. I figured the lymph circulation must be improving my metabolism.
本当だ。私、変わってる。
I felt the change right away the next morning. It wasn't much, but I could tell since I looked in the mirror every day.
私、幼くなってる。
それはすごいね。ほんの数日で実感できるくらいに変化があるなんて。
先輩と違って私現役 JK ですんで。
細胞が若いから僕よりもずっと効きがいいんだろうね。
これを毎日続けていけばもっともっと若返れるんですよね。でももうもらった分がなくなっちゃいました。
大丈夫だよ。持ってきてるから。次
Giving her
は
more?
肌になじませたら内側からなじませないといけない。
On the inside too.
でも
I don't like that.
今度は少し刺激が強いと思うよ。
Kick?
内側からなじませるってどうやるんです？
そんな難しいことじゃないよ。僕が教えてあげるから。でも若い分きっと反動が強いと思うんだ。
痛いとかうずくとかその程度なら全然平気です。
体の根本を作り直すからね。しばらく風邪に似た症状が出るかもしれない。僕の時でも熱が出たような感じで少しふらついたから。
それくらい全然。
Trying to think if.
じゃあ
Oh, well,
や
his
り方を
eyes
教えるよ。
were his eyes always that like dark? So with her talking to Suzuhara about what happened, I'm assuming that maybe she's still alive after whatever is going to be happening. I was such an idiot. I actually took that mysterious powder as told and I put it inside me this time too. But I actually felt like I was getting younger. I believed that I could return to my heyday as Magical Lily, and that I could show you just how special I was. Just as Suzuhara told me, I put the powder into a tube-shaped piece of rolled up paper and put it in my mouth. In hindsight, I think that thing was smiling when you saw me do that. Oh, you mean this creepy smile? Like he knew he dragged me into something from which I could never turn back.
吸ってみて。
I saw.
むせないように気をつけてね。
I knew his eyes were darker at that point. I knew it. I saw it change back. I hadn't felt anything when I applied it to my skin, but this time I immediately felt dizzy. I ignored it and continued to inhale, and for a while I felt the heat building up in me as though my chest were on fire. I was a bit dazed, like when you spend too much time out of bath. Not even the spice sake I'd had for New Year's made me feel like this. Suzuhara was right to say this had a lot more kick if just inhaling a little was enough to call it all this. By the time I finished taking the entire dose, my body was burning up so badly I wanted to throw my clothes off. He told me those cyanide cells are working to make me younger. I call bullshit. Even after I went to bed and closed my eyes, the fire matches fade. Quite the opposite. I felt aches different from the pounding of my heart, along with something coursing through my body. It was like I had a swarm of worms crawling through my lymph nodes and blood vessels. Normally, I'd be disgusted by this sensation, but I saw it as a sign that my body was trying to turn me on. By the next morning, I couldn't get out of bed anymore. I had a high fever and my body was swollen, my joints ached. My mother said it was probably cold, scolding me for going too far on my nightly walks. But I couldn't afford to stop my secret meeting with Suzuhara. There was a precise dosage and so on involved, so I couldn't take it without his instructions. I had to keep this going until I got magically in his body back. And I stayed in bed with a high fever through the day, snuck out, and I was feeling a little better at night, and I had Suzuhara give me the medicine. The routine went on for several days. My parents wanted to go to the hospital, but I didn't want a doctor ordered me to stop, so I skipped in secret. My face in the mirror looked haggard. However, I was convinced this was part of the process of destroying my monstrous body from within. I'm afraid of what's going to reveal. Then 1 week had passed since I started taking the medicine. At this point, I was starting to get vertigo in addition to high fevers, and it was a struggle just to get out of bed. I figured my parents would call me as if I made a fuss, so I put up with it all, no matter how hard it got. Once my rendezvous time with Suzuhara drew near, I forced myself up, despite all the pain. My fever was so bad that day I could barely move. But my phone was beeping to let me know the time to meet Suzuhara had come. So I hurried upward. I had started seeing the world as mushy and distorted. It felt like I was pulsating from time to time. I couldn't even tell if I was walking on my own 2 feet, or if I was rolling about while still asleep. I noticed how it's kind of the distortion. I noticed it. Even the handrail by the stairs had grown so accustomed to warping my eyes, so it took a lot of effort to get down the stairs without falling. I'm sure my parents didn't notice, and I managed to get outside. Fortunately, an odd choice of words, isn't it? I'd been much more fortunate if I had just collapsed in the mirror.
やっぱり若いから刺激が強いんだね。どうした？
熱かな。おかしく見える。
I knew that it had to be Suzuhara, but he looked very different. I figured that it must have been the fever messing with my vision. But while his voice was the same, his body wasn't. It was like he was a big black shadow. I think I remember this. Isn't this that one thing from the previous chapter? From the previous story? That is definitely that one thing from before. At the end of the previous story. He had long black hair that fell to the ground and thorns that looked like withered branches growing out of his head. A dim glow from the streetlights didn't illuminate much, so I couldn't even see the look on his face. But his voice was still Suzuhara's, so I still believed it was him. Oh, that sounded creepy. Yeah, you can tell that I'm getting thumbnails, but look, there's hands right here at the bottom. Suzuhara's voice sounded odd from time to time. Something must have been up with my ears. I was in a daze and on the verge of collapse, but it was the last time I saw it endured, fighting, figuring I could sleep all I wanted later. When Suzuhara's urging, we sat down by the park's flower bed. When we did, he opened his right hand and tilted his palm downward. Something seemed to flutter down from it. Oh my god. It just hit me. The stuff that he gave to her is this suit, ash, whatever it is. That's what he gave her. It was black and light, like a tiny feather, but it reflected no light even under the glow of the streetlights. And then what looked like black snow or soot began raining down. Suzuhara caught it in his left palm, forming a small mountain. He then netted it with his hands, changing it into the shape of a thin tube. This was the last of the medicine. But this was the end of the line for me. I was dizzy and couldn't even trust what I was seeing. Suzuhara must have realized that because he took my hands and helped me. Ugh. I don't like that.
これで最後の薬だよ。これを吸い込めば呪いのすすが全身に行き渡るよ。
Cursed suit.
マジカルリリーに戻れるですよね。
戻れるよ。ほら、吸って。
I don't like the eyes. I don't like those eyes. I did as I was told. I inhaled it deep into my lungs. When I did, my head was filled with a burst of pure light. I was still dazed, but the sense of fatigue and suffocation that had plagued me cleared right up. I'd hit the peak. My week of penance must have finally borne fruit. Just then, I saw someone walking slowly out of the light. It was a little girl. It was me, back in the good old days, when I was petite and adorable. Tears of gratitude welled in her eyes, and she smiled appreciatively at me.
私を取り戻すために頑張ってくれてありがとう、ババア。ババアは余計よ。これで私たちはマジカルリリーを取り戻せるよ。あんたは私と一つになるの。これで一番輝いてたあの頃を私たちは取り戻せるわ。先輩に認めてもらえるかな。もちろんだわ。私の微笑みに耐えられる男の子なんているわけないもん。それも鈴原先輩のためだけに微笑むの。みんなのリリーじゃない、先輩だけのリリーになるの。そうしたら絶対先輩のハートを私だけのものにできるんだから。
Again, figuratively or literally?
できるわ。だってその姿こそが私の一番なんだから。
Lily slowly embraced me. I hugged her back. I felt the heat in my chest merge with the one in
あ
hers.
なたは私という体にできた吹き出物、ニキビみたいなもの。それをきれいさっぱり落とせば本当の私の体に帰ることができる。私の化け物みたいな体をきれいさっぱり落とせば元に。もうお薬はすべて飲んだから、あとは寝て待つだけ。それで私はよみがえれるの。そして鈴むお兄ちゃんだけの私になるの。早く私という吹き出物を消し去ってしまおう。そして早く綺麗な私になって会いに行こう。
All of a sudden, I heard tires screeching as the car quickly took off. The sound brought me back to my senses, clearing some of the haze in my mind.
どうしたの？
なんでもないです。急に頭がすっきりして。
峠を越えたんだね。飛躍の効果が君の体の中に行き渡ったんだよ。
No, it's not over yet.
あとは大丈夫。待つだけだよ。
待つだけ。
待つだけで大丈夫だよ。
Those final words, the thing that looked like Shizuhara faded into darkness, almost like he was never there. Almost like he never existed. I don't know why I added that. Ooh, green this time. Suddenly found myself worried. Oddly enough, the medicine had felt more real when it was causing my body to suffer. Now that it all cleared up, I wonder if its effects had already stopped working. But Shizuhara said that it was spreading throughout my body. The effects would purge the ugly boil that I was from the lead would soon arrive. Before the weekend ended, I saw it happen. A few days after, I was well enough to go back to school. Okay, there is the end. Not the end. The end of this episode. Stopping it there. This one's more medium length. So, hope you enjoyed this one. And a new bullshit was gonna happen in this one. And it's gonna be real strange to see what happens with Riria. And if you wanna know, then subscribe and hit the bell, so you know whenever I do post the video that will reveal what happened to her with all of that suit. And I hope you return for more. Bye bye.